Why are Kale and Caulifla so powerful? I'm going to do my best to explain why they seem to adapt to the Super Saiyan 1 and Super Saiyan 2 forms so easily. If you watch this video and enjoy it, don't forget to give the video a like, because it really helps the channel out. Also, if you want to follow me on Twitter, the link is in the description below. And if you subscribe, don't forget to click the little bell icon next to the subscribe button to get a notification for whenever I upload a video. Thanks guys! Okay, so before I talk about Kale and Caulifla, I'm going to quickly talk a little bit about the Universe 6 Saiyan's background to kind of help explain my points later on in the video. Like, it'll all make sense when I put it all together. But okay, to start, Planet Sadol's living conditions are different. This may sound a little bit of a weird point to bring up, but like on Earth, obviously the gravity is normal for what Earth says, but when Planet Vegeta is in Universe 7 before it was destroyed, like Vegeta said that, I believe Raditz, I think Raditz said that Planet Vegeta's gravity is 10 times stronger than Earth's gravity, and because Planet Sadol is from the twin universe of Universe 7, Universe 6, I believe Planet Sadol, we can pretty much, well, I kind of theorized that Planet Sadol's gravity will probably be the same, because although not everything's exactly the same, Universe 6 and 7 are said to be twin universes, so they're not exactly the same, but a lot of the aspects of them are quite similar in certain ways. And that's just something I thought I'd bring up. So, to begin, the Planet Sadol's living conditions would have probably been a lot different compared to Earth's. Yeah, to continue. Also, the Universe 6 Saiyans, as Kaba stated, and obviously Frost talked about it, there was actually like a kind of a war around, and like, I don't think it was Planet Sadol, but there was like a war that Kaba fought in with Frost and everything. I can't exactly remember all the details about that, but yeah, so we can tell that the Universe 6 Saiyans have had to do like quite a lot of battles, a bit like the Planet Vegeta Saiyans, but pretty much they've had to fight in like a war, which would obviously mean that their power levels would naturally go up if they'd had to train to fight. So I thought I'd bring that up just in case you guys forgot about that. But I'm going to start getting into some of the bigger points now. But basically, Universe 6, the Universe 6 Saiyans have actually like a different biology. Because if you remember, Kaba said that the Universe 6 Saiyans never had tails. Because Vegeta, I believe Vegeta asked him about it, and he said like, we don't have tails like at all. And basically what I gathered from that is that obviously that tells us that the Universe 6 Saiyan's biology compared to the Universe 7 Saiyans is actually quite a bit different. Because if you remember, the Universe 7 Saiyans, when they're born, they have a tail. And when they see the light of the full moon, or like an energy ball that Vegeta makes, as an example, they turn into the Ozaru, you know, the Great Apes. We saw that in the Saiyan Saga and all that. And yeah, you guys all know what the Great Apes are, I can imagine, if you've seen the series. But yeah, so because of that, they seem to be kind of, I've noticed that the Universe 6 Saiyans seem to be pretty similar to the human Saiyan hybrids, like Gohan, Goten and Trunks. And the reason I say this is because if you actually remember, Goten and Trunks became Super Saiyans at an extremely early age compared to Goku and Vegeta. And it pretty much implies, and Gohan as well to an extent, because he was much younger than Goku, although he got a lot of teaching from Goku, so that obviously helped him grow. But as we can see, like Goten and Trunks, they became Super Saiyans incredibly early. They didn't do much training at that point between them before they became a Super Saiyan. And the thing is, like, with Goten, if you remember, he became a Super Saiyan by sparring with Chi-Chi, and he did it accidentally. And the reason I think this is important is because, if you think about it, if Trunks and Goten can become Super Saiyans without a huge amount of training, it is not too unbelievable to think Kale and Caulifla could become Super Saiyans like pretty easily, and even Kaba to an extent, because if you think about it, as Saiyans, their biology is different, and it's a bit more similar to the human Saiyan hybrids because of the way they transform easier. But Caulifla, Kale, and Kaba all transform pretty easily because their bodies have been trained. Like as Saiyans, they like fighting, and they've been trained. Well, Kaba not as much, but they've basically been training, or they've conditioned their bodies all their life. And with training and with a right nudge of a teacher like Kaba, who's already become a Super Saiyan, I found that it would probably be a lot easier for them because their body's strong enough to handle it, and they have a good teacher to help them become Super Saiyans, and I think that kind of makes sense. But yeah, something else I've kind of thought about is that if they had no tails, it's it's not exactly it's not confirmed at all, but I kind of thought that if the Universe 6 Saiyans don't have tails and they never have them, it would probably make sense to assume that they'd be like stronger naturally than the Universe 7 Saiyans, because although they've also been fighting, the Universe 7 Saiyans like love to fight, and they were like ruled over Frieza, if you remember, and they used to take over planets for him. And if you actually kind of think about it, the Universe 6 Saiyans all seem to naturally be stronger. Caulifla, I believe, was like a crime boss or something, if I remember right. So she is obviously in kind of a combat-y background. And obviously with the war going on, I don't know if she took part in that, but I know Kaba did. But obviously, from what we can see, like, they seem to just be naturally stronger. Because if you think about it, when Kaba fights Vegeta in the Universe 6 versus 7 tournament, Kaba fights Vegeta when he's in his base, and it's quite impressive because he's actually kind of equal in strength to base Vegeta, and this may not seem impressive to some people, but when you actually think about it, at that point in the series, Vegeta had already had God training from Whis, so his body was like infused with God Ki, and he was very, very powerful, even in his base form. And it just goes to show how powerful the Universe 6 Saiyans are, because from what's implied, when Kaba fought in the war, he was in the front lines, so we could see him as kind of like a grunt in the Saiyan army, I guess you could say. And if one of the grunts, or he might be like an exception where he's like stronger than the average ones. I can imagine he's stronger than average because he was chosen for the Universe 6 tournament. But you got to think, if Kaba is just someone fighting in the war in the front lines, and he's fighting Vegeta, it pretty much implies that the Universe 6 Saiyans is just naturally a lot stronger than the Universe 7 Saiyans, like, just from then, the planet they live on. Obviously, Goku and Vegeta are exceptions because, you know, they've trained properly, and they're incredibly powerful from lots of training. But because of their physiology being different, it kind of makes sense. And it's kind of been sprinkled and implied that the Universe 6 Saiyans are naturally, like, stronger than the Universe 7 Saiyans. But how does this relate to Kale and Caulifla? I'm getting to that. I just need to kind of I'm just kind of explaining about the Universe 6 Saiyans so you can kind of get to grips with it. Some of you guys probably know this stuff, but I'm just recapping to like add all the information together so it makes sense. But anyway, so Vegeta teaches Kaba how to transform into a Super Saiyan 1 by like threatening to kill him and his family, and he'll destroy planet Sadala if he lost in the Universe 6 tournament and kind of gave up against Vegeta. And obviously that pisses Kaba off. He obviously transforms into a Super Saiyan through emotion. I know a lot of you guys are saying like Kale and Caulifla don't have like hardly any anger or like strong emotions when they transform, but the difference between them is I've noticed that Kaba seems to be a bit more emotional than those times, but that's not really the main reason. It's more a case of that Vegeta did that at the time because he didn't really have time to train him properly, and he trained in the old-fashioned way of. It's like when Goku was fighting Frieza and Frieza killed Krillin. Goku was so angry and upset about Krillin's death that he got forced into transforming because he at the time his body naturally did it because he needed to transform. He needed the power, and he was strong enough to transform. I think that's kind of key in kind of this kind of, I guess it's not really a theory, but I'm just kind of talking about the topic, and I'm kind of explaining my thoughts. I'm not always the best at this, but I'm trying my best. I'm getting better at doing these talks on YouTube. But yeah, essentially, Vegeta taught Kaba kind of the basic way to transform, and once Kaba transformed for the first time, he managed to like practice in his own time, and from what was implied, he mastered it off screen before he trained Kale and Caulifla how to transform. And I think a lot of becoming a Super Saiyan is, although in Universe 7 the Saiyans had to train a lot to transform, and they just kind of unlocked it through like emotions once they got to a certain point when they pushed themselves or they needed to transform. Like Vegeta transformed because he was training intensely, and like obviously he was so angry that he was behind Goku, it managed to like spark him into transforming. But the difference is, from what's implied, you don't exactly need to be really angry to transform into a Super Saiyan. And I'm just going to continue. I have some notes here, so if it sounds a little jumbled up, I'm pretty much just doing this so I have all my thoughts in one place. But yeah, I think Kale's a little bit of an exception though, because she has like the legendary Super Saiyan-like form, where you know what she's like. She looks like Broly, and she gets like incredibly more powerful than normal, I suppose. But yeah, the difference between like Kale and Caulifla though is that when Kaba's teaching them, we're going back to like the tingly back. Like a lot of people didn't like it because he taught them like if you focus your energy in your back and make it all tingly, you can transform. And I know this annoyed a lot of people, but if you actually know a bit of background information about martial arts, it kind of makes sense. I watched one of Geekdom's videos and he kind of explained it, and I've kind of briefly got it on here so I can explain it to you guys. But there's like a concept in like these martial arts, and it's called tanden. And yeah, it's a concept of Japanese martial arts where it's believed that there are three like main points of where your ki or chi in a person's body like flows. And one main point is that in the middle of they have like three main points of where the ki goes around. So like there's one point in like the middle of your forehead, like between your eyes. There's also one around like your chest and back area. That's like kind of the important part, near around where your heart would be. So and the heart's connected to like your emotions, so that's where your emotional energies lie. And there's also like one kind of around your kind of crotch area. But basically these three like energy kind of conduit areas, you could say, they're like the main points where it flows around the body. And essentially with the tingly back, it's coming back to this. Kaba's kind of explaining to them about making your back tingly, and if you focus your energy in your back, you can transform. And it's kind of all about the kind of concept of tanden, where you focus kind of your emotional energies in your back area, and because it's like your emotional energy, it's kind of implied that in Dragon Ball Super. I'm not the best at explaining this, but I'm doing my best. I think you get the point though. Basically, it's a way of controlling your emotional energies to help them transform into Super Saiyans. And it doesn't exactly mean they have to be incredibly angry at the time, but it's not just having lots of emotion, it's being able to control your energy right to transform. Because someone can get angry and not transform. It's all about how you control your energy properly. That's kind of what I've been coming around to. And because the Universe 6 Saiyans are naturally powerful, I believe because their bodies are already conditioned to be able to transform, and it's not, and you know they've gotten to the point where they're strong enough to transform. Kale and Caulifla only needed Kaba to kind of give them the nudge in the right direction for them to control their energy in the right way to transform. And yeah, I think that's kind of the main thing I wanted to talk about, because it kind of makes sense when you actually think about it. Although it's kind of, I do get it, some people will just go and not like it, the way they can transform without having to train like Goku and Vegeta have. But something I'm going to bring up with Goku is that although that's completely true, and Goku and Vegeta had to kind of train a lot more than Kale and Caulifla, but something you got to think about is Goku is teaching them. He spent years perfecting the Super Saiyan forms, and he's teaching them kind of the optimal way. Like in the Tournament of Power, he's kind of teaching Kale and Caulifla the way to transform properly, because Goku spent years like training himself, learning how to even unlock the forms. Because when you think about it, at first Goku didn't know there was a form over Super Saiyan 1. Like obviously Super Saiyan 2 was a thing, but he didn't know it until like Gohan transformed. But essentially Goku knows all the forms that he's mastered, and he's teaching them how to do it properly, so it doesn't take them that long and they don't need to make the same mistakes Goku's done, if you kind of get what I mean. So like because Goku's a good teacher, he's teaching them in a way which is like the perfect way to teach them. He's fighting with them and he's bringing out their energy as they're fighting, and he's kind of teaching them how to transform through that. And in general, he just knows how to bring out the power in them, because obviously he's a Saiyan too, and he knows what not to do when training someone. And obviously because Kale and Caulifla are naturally talented and powerful anyway, that helps them transform extremely quickly, because they have the perfect teacher. And to me that kind of makes sense. And Kale was a bit of an exception. I guess she's a bit more old, Universe 7-y with her transformations. Like she had a form where when she lost her, when she went crazy with emotion, she'd transform into kind of her legendary Super Saiyan form, if you get what I mean. I don't know what the official name for that form is. I think it's like Berserk mode. But yeah. So basically, she had a form where she felt incredible emotion, and because she had lots of emotion, it helped her control. Because she learned how to become a Super Saiyan, her energies worked properly, and then she transformed into into like a Super Saiyan form. So I'm always the best at explaining these things because yeah, if you guys like these kind of videos, like make sure to give me the thumbs up. But yeah, I thought about like all these points and I kind of pieced it together, and I think this actually makes sense. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications from whenever I upload. And anyway, I'm Zuli, and I'll catch you guys down the road.